Hearties. This is Heart to Hearties, the official admin's chat with the cast and crew of When Calls the Heart. I'm Annette from South Carolina.
I'm Dawn from North Carolina.
I'm Marg from Southern California.
Well, we're so excited to get to talk to the woman who creates so much beauty on our show, the production designer, Sarah Mabberley. How are you, Sarah?
Hi, I'm doing so good. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be back.
Yay!
We're glad you're here. So, with the filming of season 12 around the corner, this is your crunch time, right?
Oh yes. Yeah, I've only been here for 7 days, 8 days, and
Oh,
it's
wow.
we're full on. And yeah,
Right.
we're full on. We just
Well,
had our
thanks for
second
taking some
design
time.
meeting today. So
That's
Oh,
great to
really?
hear.
yeah,
Well, thanks for taking some time to join.
of course. Nice break
So,
from the work.
parties have things they want to know. And last season, they got their usual feast for the eyes. So we want to jump right into season 11. So let's talk about the season finale. First of all, Carrie Campo of Brunswick, Ohio, wants to hear more about how you incorporated the Chinese touches into May and Mike's wedding and what some of the color and symbols represented.
This was such a lovely experience because, of course, I mean, we haven't seen this in Hope Valley yet. And so to be able to bring in not only this new uh, culture, but to see the combining of these worlds was such a beautiful experience. And we got to bring in a cultural and diversity consultant because above all, we wanted to honor and do right by without making any mistake along the way. Because Lord knows I'm not an expert by any means. And so we wanted to do it right. And we brought in our consultant, Fiona, and she was able to guide me through just some of the traditions and not only just the cultural traditions, but also what we would have seen in that time period in this area, because it's not a big city, so we couldn't go grand and luxurious. We had, it was still that down home feeling, and so what that meant in terms of the traditions. As far as color goes, I mean, red, of course.
Yeah.
That's kind of an obvious one. Yellow, we used a lot of yellow, which was also okay, except not chrysanthemums. So bad at saying chrysanthemums, because that was usually for funeral services. So
Oh, really?
it wasn't even just the colors; it was the type of flower as well. And
Oh.
we weren't allowed to use white either, which,
Mhm.
of course, we're so used to traditional white for like
Right?
North America, and so that was an interesting. Okay, how do we do this? Um, and so we also found out that the double happiness symbol was we had to have that. That was a must. And so we used that in a lot of our banners as well as the cake topper. And then they would have different banners and options. She gave us some options for what we would say on those. And because I'm really bad at remembering, so I wrote this out. Our first banner said, "A century of good union and eternal unity, and a perfect match made in heaven." And that's what our banners said, our long banners. And then even that the characters that we were using, because that they changed over time, and what the written characters looked like. So we even went back and made sure that we were using the right characters, and then Set Deck actually created all of the banners and everything where it was handmade. We didn't buy anything, synthetic or anything like that. It was all the proper fabrics and colors, and it was cut and sewn and done perfectly correct. And then everything we saw, even the swagging of the red ribbons, even though it's like we've seen that, but that was actually very, very traditional. Everything was exactly as it should have been. But then it was also fun to, of course, bring in the North American ways as well, because you wanted to honor our Hickam and Mike, and we saw that in the cake. We saw Minnie, of course, making the beautiful 3-tiered traditional cream wedding cake but then adding those red flourishes on so that it was really just a melding of the two worlds, and that was really represented in that cake, of course. Like, and the boutonnieres and those little details that really helped to bring those two together.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
Hearties just loved it. They love a wedding anyway. This was truly special.
I know, and of course I like heard wedding, and instantly, you know, like your mind goes to what we're used to saying and how ultimately to mix that up. And I'm like, oh no, this is a big mix up. This is great. This is awesome.
Wonderful. Well, a couple of Hearties were curious about the camera that was used at the wedding. That just came up this week. And this took the picture when the newlyweds were cutting the cake. And by the way, you mentioned Minnie's cake, and it was a masterpiece.
Yeah, that was our actual caterers, like our caterers made that cake for us. So yeah, that was like they're always helping us do any of our big food scenes and everything. Like they'll be the ones to do it for us. It's really cool. But that was it's called a Kodak folding camera that it was circa like 1915, so it wasn't like brand spanking new of the time, but that was the style that they would have had. So yeah, it's a Kodak folding camera and that our props team sourced. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So it's genuine from the era.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah, it wasn't a reproduction. It was true. Yeah.
Perfect.
Did you just have that in your stock, or did you have to find that quickly?
That one we found.
Really?
Found that for us. But we have our sources and we have our camera people, which is also really cool. I mean, of course, you've also got like a camera department when you're working in film. And so they're always obsessed with when we bring these things. And I'm a camera buff as well. I've got a bunch of like vintage film cameras. And so I see that and I'm like, yeah, I get really excited. But yeah, so that was true vintage, true antique.
Yeah. Oh my word. You know what? It's interesting because now we talked to you, 2 years ago, you were a set decorator. Now you're production. So it sounds like you have, I mean, how many departments, props, what kind of departments that you lead?
Yeah. So under the art department umbrella, which, and I never like saying this, but it's like, I'm the production designer is at the helm of that. And then of course
Girl, you say it. You just say it. We'll say it for you. That's fantastic.
Team effort, like that's the thing.
Of course
it's like, I'm so grateful
but you go on, Sarah. We love all your work and your team.
But so under the art department umbrella, which is led by the production designer, we have set deck, and then we have props, we have special effects, greens, paint, and construction. And they are all under the guidance of the production designer. What we do is, so the production designer comes in 4 weeks before camera, we go to camera. And so there's the first week is me discussing with our director, it's essentially it's the concept of the entire season and the design of the season, and we'll go from there. And then 3 weeks, a week later, so they get 3 weeks, set deck comes in, we have our meetings, and then we have our design meetings where I give them the concepts for all of the sets and all of the new builds, and what I need them to then get and do. And then props comes in, and it's very similar, special effects, screens, and then like they all trickle in within like the 2 to 3 week range before camera. And I will have gone through meetings after meetings and done hours worth of drawings and concepts and design boards, based on what I've been told by directors. And I mean, and what's really lovely about this team is I get so much creative freedom. And and then of course everyone gets, you get your notes, and it becomes ultimately like what everybody's vision is. But it's so nice to work with people who trust you so much and will just be like, just what do you want? And that's really lovely. And so then when set deck comes in, they do like a week of kind of like paper prep, and then they get 2 weeks. So 1 week is loading into the town, and we have 3 people on set, 3 people in our lockup, and 2 trucks going back and forth. So loading, unloading, loading, loading, and that's 12 hours a day for 5 days. And then by that time, the lockup is empty and everything is on set. And then we get 1 week to dress every set.
Dress it, yeah, yeah.
Including new builds and exteriors. And like, obviously, of course, we're not shooting every set on day one. So we have time to do like the finessing and like the fun little things, but really it's 2 weeks that Jamestown turns into Hope Valley.
Right.
Yeah.
I was wanting Hearties to know what is like, there's a lot in the beginning just to get up and running and, you know, things like that. So in case other Hearties are curious, this is the answer.
Yeah. And construction and paint are even in 1 to 2 weeks prior to that, because Jamestown has been sitting there or has been handed over to other shows. And so there's a lot of restoring and repainting and rebuilding and maintenance that has to happen. And it's so overgrown. So then Greens comes in and does all the manicuring. So every department is really, really hustling for about a month.
Yeah. You know, we were talking about Mike and May's amazing wedding. So we're just going to kind of pull back in a moment. And you did the outdoor area with the amazing lantern-filled space for May and Mike earlier in the season, their dinner. But just tell us about how you pulled that off.
Oh, that was we had never really shot back there. It's when they decided that they wanted to turn this into the walnut grove, we're like, okay, we're not actually allowed to touch the walnut trees that are there, or sorry, hazelnut. I don't know why.
Hazelnut, yes.
Hazelnut. Yeah.
Hazelnut. So we're not allowed to touch them. So then we brought in our own trees and planted those, and then had to try and navigate the landscape because it is a kind of an awkward place to get to with gear. It's very much a backyard, and you know, we've got old Christmas trees, like wishing trees have passed or have been replanted out there. So it's a bit of a mishmash. So I had to think about this and be careful because it is just open. Like if it's going to be a night scene, you don't want it to just be a black abyss. So the director, like we really worked together on kind of creating this this fantasy world where light it's illuminating the space and creating a lot of like depth. And I remember I was trying to do my drawings and you just couldn't get a sense of it in that like one dimensional or even like the two-dimensional renderings that I was doing. I was like showing them, like, they're like, okay, but I'm like, just lanterns, just think this. And I mean, they worked their butt off trying to source all of those things. And of course, like knowing where the camera was going to go and then just imagining that reveal, it turned out way better than I think any of us imagined it could be. And to the point of us being like, we're not actually allowed to do any more parties or dinners back there because we just can't top it. Like nothing will top that.
Right.
It'll all be a slight disappointment.
Yeah.
So that, and I will say we worked really closely with Amanda on this. She really guided us on not only like what she wanted to see as her character, because that's always important, but just what her culture and her background knew of this, and especially the food. And I know like she was cooking and we were always testing food and just trying to come up with that like perfect hometown like dive into her culture that we needed and we hadn't really seen yet.
Right.
And in a special place that has, it's funny because we see it as Gowans, but it's so much also become theirs now. And I really love that it's become this special place in town that we hadn't seen before, but has always been there.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. Yeah. Totally. I can't even imagine the feat that you had to do for that.
It was a lot of like all of the poles were movable because you have to be able, whenever you're suspending things like that, you have to be able to move them all for camera, because anything in front of the camera can get in the way of gear, and so everything was movable, but yet, you know, we're on this ground, and so it had to be stable because it couldn't tilt, you know, and so coming up with the logistics of that was, it's doable. It was just like, okay, what do we need to do to accomplish this, because it's not just putting something on you know, in the saloon.
The season 11, the bar is so high at this point.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Sorry.
Why do I look calm? I don't know. I'm in denial.
Yeah, it was just, so I'm really excited about season 12 for sure. We have a question with Marianne Lukaszewski of Milford, Connecticut. Asks, any idea where May and Mike will be living as newlyweds? Will we get a glimpse of that in season 12?
I've definitely heard hints down the pipeline. Don't know yet. They're still on their honeymoon, so we don't know. And I'm really
you don't want to interrupt them and call them.
Hey,
saying,
yeah, excuse me.
What?
Where do you live?
Decorations that we need.
I'm also interested in knowing what like Bachelor Mike's place is gonna look like, and like what her idea of like when she walks in, what does this look like? So yeah, I'm really I imagine, because people's homes have become so sorry, my ears are like never fit these things. Homes have become such a special place, and like having the door opened into the personal lives is, so I imagine like that's gonna happen. Like I feel it has to.
Yeah. Well, we always talk about Ned and Flo. Would love to go with them to their home. That would be an interesting conversation. So
that would be the most eclectic house. Like I can't imagine Ned's, like it would just be riddled with his inventions.
Yeah.
Seriously.
And then every gossip mag.
Yeah.
On top.
I love it. So this last season, Lucas' office now was kind of the temporary office for the governor. And so there's a lot of interesting placement in that office. And Cindy Connor Dykes of Tifton, Georgia, noticed a picture behind his desk, and she thinks it was two people walking on the beach. So do you have any? Really?
I have to bring this up because, well, no, there's a lot of pictures in there, and I was like, I need to get a visual of this, because I decorated this in season 7.
Yeah,
7, I think it was 7 or 8. And like that was when we did it wasn't a full set yet. It was just it was the set in the saloon that then connected to the back room in the kitchen, and that was one of my favorites. I was so excited to do that, and then it moved into where it is now permanently. So I was like, okay, wait. So yes, I found them.
Yay!
So the importance of everything in Lucas's office is that it's truly like a picture book into his life. It is this collection of his travels, his family, his accomplishments, his memories, good or bad, like the gifts that all these interesting characters have given him throughout all of his, like it's just, it really opens up the door into who he is, which is like this man of the world. And so I remember when we were thinking this over, it was like, what would he have? And he's a collector of his memories and photos. So these are actually meant to be photos of him and his family on the beach. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, I don't have photos of Chris McNally in, 1905.
Well, you never know. You never know. You know.
So these are our stock photos of the period. So we found ones that would have been him at that age of that time, with cousins, and it's kids. They're all kids in these photos.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Okay. We did, however, take a couple of like him as an adult, and we did put his face on some on bodies. I think there's that one of him, like, I think he's riding and he's got his arm, his like leg up, and he's in like a riding suit, and we pasted his face onto a stock photo.
Right.
So although we can't truly have photos of him, these are like important representations of his life and his journeys and his memories.
Yeah, yeah, love it. Well, also the rendering of Opal's about for the resort, the drawing for the resort.
Mm-hmm.
So who did that rendering?
Yeah.
It's framed and it's on his, which we love that it was framed and put into his office. It's so cool.
Yeah. So our team, the art team is myself, and last season it was Desiree Lastoria, who is our graphics and art coordinator, and then Hannah Cook was our art director. And so they created that. They drew that.
Wow.
It was, they digitally, Des digitally drew it. And then I believe Hannah actually went over and did pencil drawings of it to get that obviously like hand-drawn feeling. But it was digitally created in one of our drawing programs. And then Hannah went over it.
That Desiree did the little drawing of Scout.
She did, yeah.
When he was going to be adopted,
Yeah. Yeah. And Desiree is back this season, and she's actually my art director this year. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah. Hannah got an amazing opportunity on another show, and I literally told her not to come back because it's like such an amazing opportunity, and like, do not pass that up.
Right.
You will have work the rest of your life. I mean, so will we, because When Calls the Heart will go on for millions of years. But yeah, it's always fun, to switch things up. And so, she'll come back, but she's not with us this season.
Yeah.
But Desiree's, she's over there drawing. I told her to join us. She's like, she's too shy.
Right. Well, then you have some letters and, invoices from Jeanette Alcoin. I know she's a villainess, but she had lovely penmanship. So
yes, she did. Again, Desiree.
Yeah, really.
I drew one thing last season. I will take full credit for this because I was really proud of it. I did draw the crime scene gun.
Oh, wow.
Pointing that out.
Well done.
Yeah, good job.
But Desiree and Hannah do everything. Desiree's an art. She's so genius.
Well, thinking about the pistol, what about the little pistol that was used with Jeanette? How did you source that?
So we had to source that in Canada because we actually found something perfect, but we're not allowed to ship up from the States.
Oh yeah.
So like Props, of course, is the one who sourced that, and so it was shipped in from Toronto, and it's like it was what was it called? It was a pearl handled Dillinger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Say it again. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
A pearl handled Dillinger. Yeah.
Collectors.
And the reason that was chosen, and that was Peter DeLuise, I believe, was the one who was like pretty adamant that it'd be a Dillinger, is because they're quite small, so they're typical for women because they fit in their purse.
That's right. It's so petite.
And like the pearl handle was like really pretty. So
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
I know that was a gorgeous prop.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was gorgeous on camera too, but it's kind of funny because it's so small.
Yeah, I know. That still packs the punch there.
Yeah, exactly.
So got the job sort of done, not done, but it was effective. She tried.
Unbelievable. So another like action spot in this season was the leap over off of the balcony, not over the balcony, because it was smashed. Barb Smith from Langley, British Columbia, wonders how you made it look like the saloon railings broke and Nathan and Elizabeth fell through.
Yeah, we shot that the very last night of our season, and I remember just being so cold, so cold. I was like, that's why I invested in a good jacket. I mean, that took a long time, and that was a lot of brains coming together, but the people who actually executed it would have been our stunts, special effects, and our construction team. And we recreated the original railings. We took out the old railing, recreated it, and put it on hinges and like snap away release points. So it actually does break. It technically breaks, but it breaks in a way that looks like it's organic, but it's all like magnets and can all fold back up. And we put, of course, I think Aaron posted some photos, but we brought in the scaffolding and the pads, and then just with the tricks of the camera angles, we made sure that you couldn't see, like, of course, there's like clean cut points that you had to like avoid seeing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that would have been a giveaway. But yeah, it was a recreated railing, and then we had our stunts falling, and then it was, and then we moved in that, and actually that wagon was a lot of work too. We had to build out because of course that was like, they're going to be in it, so we had to hollow it out with like boxes and then tarps and then hay and straw and then make it so that they could fall off, like climb out. So that was actually a lot of work too.
Oh wow.
Just work.
Right.
Yeah, just for them to later.
Wow.
Yeah, and of course, like we also did the gunshot that night, and that was special effects, like putting little air blasters into the wall, and the brilliant moves of Jack and of Bill. That was fun. That was a lot of fun and I mean, Peter is such a animated director too, so it was really fun doing all of those walkthroughs during our tech surveys and stuff, and just reenacting what he wanted, and at the end of the day, it turned out exactly how he had wanted.
Amazing.
So that was fun, and it didn't really change in the script. Sometimes you see special effects and gags, and it becomes like, what's our reality and what we can accomplish, and that one didn't change. I was like really excited to not see any of that detail go away in script versions. It's always fun.
I think everyone we've talked to was like, there's no way we're going to be able to pull this off, and then you totally pulled it off. I mean, as it was written is incredible.
Very happy. Our team is so smart.
They certainly are. So speaking of directors, we've gotten to talk to a couple this season, both Siobhan Devine and Elise Late Rogers, and they both spoke to working closely with you, and many Hearties noticed in the Higgins scene and in other scenes that we've had too, the Blackboard and how you change what's on the Blackboard sort of according to the theme. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, that was kind of a realization that we're like, this Blackboard can be another character, you know what I mean? And that exists in many different places, such as like, there's lots of different places where these inanimate objects actually become other characters. And so the chalkboard definitely is that. And like, how can we utilize this to tell our story in this like almost subliminal way? And I remember at least bringing the idea of the poisonous plants, because we had already introduced that concept, and then it was her input on like, oh, let's make it this, and I think the plants came from a point of where we're at in our season. So we wanted it to be nature and spring like and something environmental along those lines. And so it just tied in so perfectly that we had what I would consider, a poisonous plant re-entering our story and trying to cause some harm. And then and then we had a lot of fun. Desiree and graphics had so much fun kind of sourcing all of those materials and making it subtle yet effective. And then I think the other one we had was our hometown.
Well, the metamorphosis before, we remember.
Right. Yes. The metamorphosis.
That was last season, I think.
Yeah.
Am I right? Last season? Okay.
Yeah. Season 10. Okay. And then we had the astronomy and the stars aligning.
Yes, that was great.
That was an important one. And that was more, that was kind of an obvious one because it was so scripted. But how we then use that to decorate. It was less of a message on the board and more of like the world that we kind of created. And then it, all came together to that, like, end of that episode, which was just beautiful. And then our model, like our hometown, and how that lesson and was really tied into Lucas's grand vision and what that meant. And so bringing in our hometown, and then allowing the students to sort of take those and be like, okay, now let's relate it to Lucas and how he's trying to grow and develop our hometown. And so there were some layers of that within the model that we made, and that entire model wasn't scripted. It was just the bridge was scripted. And then
Seriously.
I come from a theater background of making maquettes, and I was like, okay, hear me out. Let's do this. And
wait, what is the word that you used? It's like a diorama?
Maquettes. Yeah, maquettes. So like theater maquettes would be like they I mean it's still practice, but just not so much now because there's like digital 3D. But building stages, building tiny miniatures, maquettes or miniatures. So this was certainly not a scale miniature by any means. We did not have time to do that, but it was a fun representation of a maquette of Hope Valley, and just it was essentially generated from the kids, and so what that looked like, and the different ages, and so then the different skill sets and what each child had to offer, which again closely tied into Opal and what Opal has to offer. So the town was this labor of love from the kids, and then what they had to offer, which really essentially is Hope Valley and what all of the what the community members have to offer, and Lucas included. So it was a miniature version of the grander scheme of things in our world.
Well, that really makes sense, because I think if we had any criticisms of season 11, of which there are not many, but we thought, why didn't Lucas kind of acknowledge that diorama, because it was so gorgeous and it just didn't get the screen time it should have, because it
wasn't really scripted. That was more
of focus. It really did. It stole focus. It was fabulous. But I love that, I think it was related to Toby too, because he was good at using his hands and had that different kind of brain. And it totally, now I get it, the grand vision, and that's super cool.
Yeah. And just what everyone has to contribute and what their skills are. And Opal discovering like her ability to draw and that what she had to offer to Lucas. And then of course, Toby, and what like this, you're amazing at things, like you think that you're not, and look at everything that you have to offer. And so there was a lot packed into that. And so I that was a lot. I remember, and we had to rush that at the end because they bumped that scene up, and we were not done. And so I was like frantically trying to get this done. And then I got the phone call that my sister was in labor, and I'm like, okay.
Oh no.
Okay, hold on a second. So that was like, and like truly a labor of love. Like there was so much emotion packed into that maquette. But I will say we are bringing it back this season.
Fun.
I plan on inserting that into the school for the rest of its life.
Oh, good. I was going to say, maybe Lucas needs to have it in his office. I'm like, it's too cool to not get more screen time. And it just felt like, I can't remember what grade it is here in California, but they do the missions, the various missions that are all throughout California, and they have to do the dioramas. And I'm sure it's traditional in most schools. But it felt like that. It was such a cool addition. We loved it.
Yeah, so. I love that. Yeah. Actually, I'm like, if we ever see the governor's office again, it'd be fun if he had a piece in there too.
Yeah, I like to think of his office in Hope Valley as kind of like the Camp David. Like, it's his office away from capital city, and so we needed to have its own character. It's very, very cool. So moving now to some kind of a simpler background. you know, and I think that was the point, is so much of Nathan and Elizabeth's romance this season played out at the row house, you know, on the front stoop, or, you know, seeing in the backyard. And it was all very row house related. Judy Crumpler Goodson of Spring Hill, Tennessee said the greatest things in life happen in the simplest of places. Talk to us about just setting up the row house for that emerging romance.
Yeah, I think it just made sense to us to put these scenes there. I mean, you could have put them anywhere, but putting them into like the row houses and like anyone's home is just like a portal directly into them, because you open that door and it's like it's opening up this, you know, who they are. And so it's very raw. It's very what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my goodness, there's a word. But it I'm hanging on this word, and it would be perfect if I could remember this word. But putting it there was their opportunity to take that one step closer, to putting themselves in each other's lives. Like, I'm not doing a very good job at because it's such a feeling. It's such a feeling.
I think we got that feeling so much. I mean,
yeah,
the moonlight with the door open, and, you know, just so many things. It just was
vulnerability.
Simple. Oh,
Vulnerability. There we go. Now I can talk like a human. Yeah, opening up those doors was really like opening up each of their vulnerability, and making it so that they had to face each other and face clearly like what's between them. And so again, yeah, what better place than to do that with that, you know, home is where the heart is.
Yeah.
And especially for Elizabeth, I mean, and of course Nathan too with Allie, but this has been her family home. This is where her son, you know, grew up. And so inviting him even just to the, you know, even as to the front stoop is like one step closer to inviting him into her life completely.
Yes.
And also, you know, for us to be able to see Nathan in this new world, we needed to be able for him to have him open his doors for us.
Right.
Yeah. See, I found the word, and
it's all there.
I found it.
It's all there.
So
what is your sense of the proximity of the two row houses between Nathan and Elizabeth? I know.
It goes. I believe he's like 3 doors down.
Oh, okay.
Past, yeah, like there's like 3 or 4 in between them is what I believe. I feel like we have this conversation every block, and every block we're trying to figure it out still.
Well, we know it's in yelling distance because we know it's in yelling distance. We've had a number of scenes where, you know, they overhear things and whatever.
Yeah,
we know it's pretty darn close.
Because because I mean it's Elizabeth, and then it's Rosalie, and then I feel like we've seen at least 2 in walk and talks. At least 2, and like that of course is like we just go back to the start and we change out the fronts. So we've seen at least 2, and so I think we said that, like, you know, there's 2, maybe double that, and that's the proximity. So I would say like 3 is a safe bet that's how many is between them.
Are the row houses one of the facades that's getting worked on this year?
No, those are such sacred places.
Oh, they are. Okay. Because I thought it was maybe a little weather beaten this year, so maybe not.
Oh, they certainly are. They certainly are.
Okay,
I mean, we'll do little touch-ups, but there's not like there's by no means a makeover happening to the row houses.
Yes.
The exteriors this year. Yeah.
And many Hearties ask about the exterior, that it's more rustic. It's not painted the same.
That's kind of a choice of the time and less about us, because
really
that, I mean, you look at the memes back then, and you know, it's like a basement. No one sees the basement. No one sees the attic inside. No one really saw the backyard. That was a workplace. That was where the outhouse is. That's where you hung the laundry and did all that. It's where you chopped the wood. So the need to pretty it up even though of course we've taken that liberty for us, but that of the times you would see what it was always the street that was made to look presentable, because that was like what people saw of you. And so that's where the judgment was.
I love that. I had no idea. That's so cool.
Interesting. Well, there's another exterior that got some attention this year. Tell us about the change in the Mountie headquarters sign this season and why that was significant.
Yeah, I mean that's a piece of history, is what it is that that was the year that the Northwest Mounted Police actually rebranded, and the RCMP was introduced into the world. So that was a change that honestly I didn't know this. It was our producer came to us and said, hey, we're changing this. And I was like, why? I'm like, oh, well, it's that this is the year it happened. Like, oh, cool. Like, to be able to pay homage to that historical event was super cool, because we tend to not like focus on anything very specific. This is our own world, and then so that was a really cool, especially being from Canada and the RCMP. That was a really cool. And then of course for the family reunion, having them out there and like really involving them in that and in the design, and what that would have looked like. That was a really, that was a cool. I really enjoyed that change because I was not expecting it.
Is that the one that was wrapped though for HFR last
Yes.
year?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure everybody knew. So
no, but it's funny. It was like, okay, I know that there are some that were, shielded from our eyes. So.
Yeah, that's always the funny thing is what do we reveal? What do we hide? Like, and like what isn't, what do we not want to spoil for you guys? Because obviously it's the excitement of the season unfolding. So it's like, we don't want to spoil everything. You guys need a little bit of, mystery.
Yeah.
So that was one of them. Yeah, that was one of them. And I think we took down the daycare sign too.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah, which is Sammy's handprints. I don't know. I can't remember. I might have told some of you guys, but that was yeah, that was Martin, and Martin was looking after Sammy that day. So I said, hey, you guys come into the office. I have a job for you. And so Martin and Sammy did that.
Oh, love it. Oh.
Well, constructing a new set for the entrance to Granville prison for Allie's scene had to have been a pretty big undertaking. So can you walk us through that?
It's funny. I actually forgot about that set, even though that was a set that I was most proud of, because we didn't really see anything like that in Hope Valley before. And so being able to design that was really cool. And it changed a lot. It changed locations a lot and different iterations. There's a lot of drawings, a lot of rendering, because ideas just developed, and it was less about the design and more about okay, well, how do we want to shoot this? What do we want to see? What are we trying to achieve in this story? And then, script lines change and all that. So that seemed to be a set that was that was completed just on time. But yeah, it was about, okay, what are we accomplishing? Allie's, we don't go in, we need to be able to have her approach. We need to be able to have a sense of the grandness of this place. It's of that, the prisons are not small. Well, they're small, but and then the drama of course, Nathan and Elizabeth pulling up and creating distance, for them to be able to approach. And so there was a lot of thinking that went into that. And then I did a lot of research on what, that era of prison, how that was constructed, what that looked like, what those finishes are. And between, me and then construction and our paint department, it was also raining real hard during all of this. So it was really, the paint was not drying. It was melting off. It was a slight construction disaster. And I remember at one point, we just weren't getting the effect that we needed at the base of it, because you don't want something to look clean. It's an old prison. So before camera was landing, I literally had my big boots on, and we'd laid a lot more gravel, and it had kind of muddied a lot, and so I was just kicking I was kicking dirt, and it was creating these splash effects up on the wall. And like people were like, "Are you okay? Are you like, what happened? Are you mad?" I'm like, "Oh no, I'm just painting, you know,
just doing my job, doing my job,
just adding the layer of dirt." So that was like that was an interesting, and like even the gatekeeper's little thing, I just picked up gravel, and I was wiping the poles and patting the sides. So it was just a very truly gritty set that I think we built it 12 feet tall. I think it was a 12-foot tall facade, 12 by like 24 by 12, I think. Yeah. Like 24 feet, 12 feet, 12 feet. Yeah. That. So it's like not actually that big, but you know, you get the right lens in there, and you get the right camera pulls, and you can make anything look like a massive prison.
Wow.
And that was built right beside the barn.
I'm just going to ask.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So if you're looking at our blacksmith barn, just to the right of it, and of course then beyond that are the riding rings. It was built along that wall.
Wow.
Yeah. I can send you photos.
Yeah. That'd be great. Love that.
And also new was the little horseback riding ring. We've never seen that before, I don't think. And that's where little Jack practiced riding with Pal. And there was also a little shack behind it.
So that's in our main riding ring. That wasn't like a weird hidden location by any means. We took a part of the metal fence out and put wood fence, and then that little shack is always there. Like it's just always been living there. We've never used it. It's overgrown, just kind of a blip that like no one really notices. And I believe I've always wanted to utilize it. That's right. I've always wanted to. I sort of like lightheartedly pitched it to Peter, and then Peter came up with like this idea, and I believe Siobhan had an episode with Pal as well. Oh, it started with Siobhan. That's right, and then it grew with Peter. But we made it the tack shop. So like, okay, what would we? So we just had Greens come clean it out. Construction came in and did some repairs because it was falling apart. Our art department and paint department made the sign, and then Set Deck gacked it out with things, and it became our little tack shop for our little pony. And yeah, it's coming back. It's coming back.
Yay! Welcome, Pal.
Yeah.
We love her or him. I don't know, him or her. Is it a him?
I think it's a him. I think it's a him.
I don't remember it was any reference. It was just Pal. So,
I remember the first time Pal came onto set. I was like, "You're my best friend. I love you. You are so cute."
Did Sammy have the opportunity to ride?
Oh no, I wish. He did see Pal, but yeah. Sammy got in a slight screaming phase, so his times on set are very short. We'll see how he does. We'll see how he does this year. I was just on a movie and I brought him on, and he was totally fine. Just did it like a MOW, and he was fine. So I'm hoping, but we arrived on that other set because I told him like, "You're gonna come to work with Mama today," and he shows up. He's like, "No, this is not set." And he's like, "Where's Gam Gam?" And I'm like, "Oh, wrong set, honey." So he just and he will see a random photo of like the dailies or on the TV, just completely random. He's like, Mama's work. He's like, he just knows
that's
When Calls the Heart
awesome.
so well, like the most random things that like aren't really even what I would assume is recognizable.
Sure.
He's like, Mama's work, Gam Gam.
Oh my word. So cute. I love that. So one of the most talked about in the Hearties world was this garden arch. You know what I'm talking about? I was gonna say, I mean, it was just, I mean, I have not seen just a prop for conversation for a long time. This has been, you know, the whole thing. Is it going to be a kiss? Is it the arch of the wedding? I mean, all of that stuff. So
I had no idea this would happen.
So what was in the
I think it even
HFR
started
story
at,
too.
yeah, it started at HFR. People
Yeah,
were like,
yeah.
oh,
This is
the
like all
arch,
of a
this is
sudden
it.
it blew up. I was like, oh my word. So anyway, Heather Hood of Minneapolis, the flowers on it changed, and as did flower boxes around the town. So tell us about those adornments for, I think probably for the greens and things like that, but especially for arch. I mean,
That, yeah, that was really funny when I realized how much attention that arch had garnered. Like, I knew it was like an interesting
was.
new place. Did not realize that literally would now become another character, just like our chalkboard. The arch is another character.
Totally.
But I guess my point is that we didn't realize the effect that simple thing would have, and then that is such like the beauty of our town is, again, like even the simplest things, the simplest of places. So that's very indicative of last season. Because realistically, like it just became, oh hey, we need a way to get into the orchard. That's just how that happened.
Oh
And I said,
wow. Yeah.
well, why don't we just cut out a back
So
gate?
innocent, Sarah. So innocent. Good for you.
I was like, well,
That's a
like,
talking point
okay,
now.
how do we get into a place? Oh, we add a door. Like that was really what that arch was, not to dissolve anyone's
Yeah.
illusions. Um, so, and it's actually funny because I wanted to build a wooden one and we didn't have time. And so it became the white one, which was fine and beautiful. But it was funny that that wasn't even the arch I wanted. Uh, but it still looked great. And that's the thing. Sometimes it's funny, like it's not what you wanted, but it becomes better than what you wanted and you don't realize it.
Right.
And so what we like to do with the flowers is, of course, match them with the season that we're in, or at least, and then maybe add some colors of the theme of what, like if there's a big festival, if there's something happening, we will increase like an accent color based on that. And so we let that arch again kind of become this other character and absorb the season, the well, Easter. I mean, it was a big one for Easter, and so making sure that it was full of that life, and that almost like whimsical, dreamy, like look that moment also was for Nathan and Elizabeth. So we just wanted to match it, like that's the goal of the art department, is to always steal focus. And so I really used that art to try and steal focus, and put all of the attention on the decor, which apparently worked.
Certainly did.
Totally.
And like truly, it like seriously acted as a portal into May and Mike's relationship, quite literally into like a portal. And I will say it did, of course, had its hand in a proposal. So nobody was like lying about it, being important. It might not have been the proposal people were thinking. But that, and then for that scene, of course, we wanted to bring red in that, wasn't necessarily anything else that was going on. We're like, we have to add this color because it's such a strong tie and strong color in the relationship of Mike and May. Plus, obviously, red being the color of love. So luckily that tied in nicely. It's not like, two different colors. Red was just the obvious choice in my mind and we handed, the arch over to our greens department. And again, they went above and beyond. Their arch game this season.
Okay, that's a bingo card scenario.
That's so funny.
Yeah, because they also did the arch inside the like the music festival party. Usually that would have been a set deck thing because it was an interior dress. But when I gave them my design boards and it had this image of an arch, because we were trying to go for like a Midsummer Night's Dream feel in there. So again, very like whimsical. And again, hey, let's really drive home this arch this season. It was a different arch though. We did not pull that one arch. We have more than one arch, okay? Give me a break.
How many? We needed to go in the bingo card for season 12. Whatever.
Well, we have two metal ones. We have the two wooden ones in the back of the row houses, and then we have the one big arch that was in Jesse and Clara's wedding, which we also saw at that. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so I offered them this design board and I said, hey, these colors, this is the colors that we're going for, and it was presented to Set Deck, and then Greens was like, can I do this? I was like, well, it's not your job, but of course I'm sure Set Deck would love to take that off of their plate.
right.
And I was like, yeah, go ahead, Travis, go ahead. And then I showed up and I saw what we saw, and my jaw dropped. I was like, gold star.
Wow. And I'm sure it's probably more beautiful. It was beautiful in camera. I can't imagine, seeing it live.
Yeah, in person. That is always the thing. It's like, like the model of the town, some things don't really get the screen time and you just have to accept that. You have to accept it. You can yell at the director of photography later, but you have to accept it.
But on the other hand, what you said is so interesting that you had no idea that this garden arch that you just envisioned as a door would become this portal of romance, and it's like Joseph's swing too. It's like we now associate that with these beautiful sort of spiritual, it's like our portal to faith when we have those moments in the porch swing. So it is amazing that what your job is, that you create these things that really do become their own characters. And
you just kind of throw it out there and hope that it's well received, or that it gives off the same, like your intention. Even though my intention was just to create a door, so that didn't have clearly any intention, but other than that, it's like that. It's like the swing, and we were unsure of where to put the swing because it's moved a few times and it never really felt right. It looked beautiful at the edge of the pond. It did, but I was like, we will rarely shoot there because it floods there, and so I was like, it's not going to get the time and that it deserves. And so putting it in that orchard, it was like this makes sense, especially knowing what the storyline of Joseph and Henry was going to be last season. I was like, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and then all of your backgrounds. I mean, we had a lot of events this year. I was going to say, okay, you're exhausting. I'm exhausting just to know what you guys do. But we had dances, we had festivals, we have parties, we have, like, the saloon was transformed for Nathan's birthday party. And I know that you sent some, or I think you posted some behind the scenes for that one. But the dance, so beautiful. A let sign in the barbershop for the barbershop quartet. All of that stuff. So, and the reception for the wedding.
Yeah.
So tell me, I mean,
the outdoor festival, I mean, all of it. It was a lot.
That was a lot. Yeah, that was a lot. And I was really excited to see a music festival because that was new, and it harkened back to my younger days of working in the music industry. And I was like, okay, I got this. I know how to do a music festival. Let's like, what's the riders look like? I went into this other mode. Right. So that was just kind of cool for me to be able to do that, and then build a stage. And we wanted to, the time of year wasn't necessarily the best for an outdoor festival, but you want to make it work because you're like, there's no other backdrop that it's gonna work. It's got to be the church. It's got to be that. It's got to be the center of the town. And so building that stage was just a lot of fun. Because you knew that you're gonna get a bunch of people up there singing, and I couldn't wait for that. And the colors, like, it was, I kind of tried to blend my love of obviously music, but then theater as well, because Rosemary and I have that in common. With and so to be able to go back to that old fashioned theater, the marquee, I was like, this is so Rosemary. This is, and she's pulling this together, and in Hope Valley ways, of course, everything happens in such a short amount of time, and magic happens because Rosemary just has this vision and does it, and she doesn't care how big or grand it is, it's gonna happen. And so when you do these, I literally embody Rosemary when I'm doing these events, because I have to. There is no. Yeah. There's no we cannot do this. Like, yeah, we're gonna build an outdoor marquee with lights, and then we're gonna build a sign inside. And actually, I will hand that over to Set Deck. Like, what if we make this banner also light up? I'm like, yes. So the sign that lit up in the saloon was like this last minute ad that I'm like, absolutely, of course it has to light up. Like, that's gonna be when we do this circle dance, like it's gonna be there, and it's gonna light everybody up, and it's gonna just create that ambiance that we were going for. Like, perfect. Yeah. So that was so much fun. I'm like, and now I have marquees in our stock, so I can just pull that up whenever I want.
All good.
Yeah, but like, and I thought about like music festivals that I've been to, and how they have those like the big tall entrances that you go through, and then and so I mean, we don't necessarily have the doorway into Hope Valley in that sense, but it's like, but the saloon is our entrance. That's what everyone's going to see. That's, of course, everyone's going to enter there, and they're going to be staying there, and that's where registration is. And so I was like, okay, I want to sort of recreate that, really, like, where you walk up to it and you're just eyes just keep going, and so that was what I had envisioned for the saloon. Wow. And just that welcoming of the valley here, and those colors, I just thought, like the rosemary, but so we've got that bold, rich burgundy of rosemary, but then like the playful yellow that is the sunshine and the brightness, to find that balance. Right. And that contrast aesthetically was, had to do that. So that was like a big, and then of course Nathan's, it made sense to me to do that theme because Ali is putting it on. We've got this ongoing theme, of course, within not only just our storylines, but we've incorporated that into the school. And who else to have direct access to that but Ali, of course. So it was, you could just see that little sub story of Ali being like, okay, we need decorations, and Elizabeth being like, hey, go strip the school, like just go take everything from the school and use that, like that was kind of my back end story of like why to do that. Only one thing that I really wanted, and everybody thought it was so cheesy and wouldn't let me do it, is that moon, that cutout of the moon, which was actually my sister's at her wedding. I like, knock knock, hey Shai, can I borrow that big moon that you've got in your storage? So that I wanted to have kind of that DreamWorks logo, with the person fishing off of the edge of the moon. I was like,
right,
how perfect is the fishing pole, because of Ali and Nathan, like having, I wasn't going to do a silhouette of a person, but I wanted to hang a fishing pole off of the moon. And they're like, don't do that. No, it's too on the nose. But and that was like, not even, that wasn't the director saying, that was just my team.
Yeah.
Just knocking me off of my pedestal a little bit. But and that was the thing. It was like, even if it didn't get a lot of screen time, that was, you still create the world. The actors are still in there seeing it all. And so you want to inspire them and give them that environment that they can then, step into and be transported into the scene.
Right.
And so that's always important when you do these parties, is no matter how big or small or what you see or what you don't, you still have to create it all, because you've got an entire cast in there that you don't want them to have to make it up in their head.
Right.
And so that was the same with, May and Mike's wedding. It was still, again, important to bring the tradition in. Then we introduced the cake that was the melding of the two, and I just done research on decor, and I found those beautiful long lanterns. I was like, yes, because what do we got in that space? We have tall ceilings and poles. So we want to mask that. You know, we always like wrap stuff around it, and you're always trying to hide them in some sort of way. Otherwise they're just brown poles. I'm like, no, let's just go up and down. So that was a beautiful solution to what is always not an issue, but a hurdle in decorating that saloon, is working with the height of the space and these brown poles in there. So it just worked really well.
Wow. So going to season 12, we had a conversation with Brian and Lindsay, and they were talking about, well, Lindsay was talking about there will be some events or whatever in Capital City, and it will probably be in Hope Valley, you know, not really in Hope Valley,
Jamestown,
but
yes.
Yes.
So can you say anything about that, or just, you know, tease us about?
Well, I want to know, first of all, I would like a phone call from Lindsay right now so that I know what it is.
Okay, we'll set that up for you.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
she's in town right now. Hold on.
I actually think it was Brian. I can't remember, but they said that there would be an expansion of Capital City in Jamestown. So just letting you know.
That's funny. Sorry.
I would like these spoilers, please.
Yes.
I don't know. It's not in block 1, so
okay. All right.
There you go. So that's a spoiler that we need right now. We're good.
But like, what excites me in that is I think about Capital City, and I mean, obviously without even knowing like what this is, and wanting to get on the phone right now to Lindsay, I'm hoping that it's like a nod to Art Deco, because I'm like big city, we're in the 20s. That's my push this year.
Large city, yeah.
I can see you going there. I can see you totally going there with the city. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
so I'm hoping that's what that allows. Like I hope that that's what allows. Or like maybe, you know, and it's an expansion of the governor's office, because we saw such a small sliver. But I hope that we get to see more city life, because that's fun.
Fun.
I'm glad that we're kind of bringing life to this other city, because it, you know, it's important. I mean, Hope Valley, it's not isolated, and there's going to be influences, and so in order for us to develop as a little town, you know, it's important to get out of the world and to move, and you've got these big hitters like Lucas. Of course there's going to be influence, so it's cool to bring that together and see where the relationship that these you know, big city small town, what that has, and you know what riffraff it brings into Hope Valley.
Yeah, exactly. What the cat drags in. Well, we know from Lindsay that it's going to pick up at the Hargraves scene. So that would still be 1921, but I don't know. I'm guessing that they're going to do kind of the same thing they did as in season 11, because the kids are going to be older. So you have to have some time jump, because little Jack is going to be, you know, many inches taller and so grown up. So, so does 1922 evoke something different than, you know, as you begin to creep more into the 20s? Does it?
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, we can't, I do have to rein myself in a bit, because you don't get the full on Art Deco bam, like right away. It's not like you hit 1920 and it becomes this whole new era. It certainly develops over time, and it's not until the mid to late 20s that you actually get that true, you know, what you acknowledge as the 20s and the Art Deco. So there's going to be a fine line, you know, with, you know, especially like Art Nouveau, and that was the fun thing within my research was what we recognize as Art Deco, and being dark and golds and that really bold and dramatic. There's also such a prettiness and a light side to Art Deco within that same world, but different palette. And I was like, this is perfect, because this is our happy place between, you know, Art Deco, and then what we do acknowledge is Hope Valley, and what we can bring into that world without making it a completely different world. You know, you don't want to just paint the town black and gold. So that I really do look forward to figuring out that balance and how we can start slowly creeping it in. You know, maybe it's new curtains or new wallpaper, or just a slightly updated, you know, piece of furniture. Just that slow creep as people are exposed to it, and that's why going to the big city is going to help us. So.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you know, like I think that like it was the 1928-ish, 27 was the first time that we really experienced the flapper kind of concept. So I mean, we're still not there. We're still evolving. So that makes sense, total sense. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a night and day sort of thing. There's a lot of gray area there.
Yeah.
Well, any other little hints of what you think is coming? Because you've only really seen block one, so.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we pick up where we left off, and I think it's a doozy. I've been excited. Like last season was an exciting start, and I was like, I knew I could see where this was going. I don't know where this is going, and that's just as exciting for me. I like the plans. The reason I don't know so much is that like there are big plans and they're still working it out.
Right.
And that just goes to show the amount of thought and the amount of like pieces that are being put into place to really like go big. And so you know, it's not a secrecy thing. It's a like put a pin in that because we're still trying to figure it out. And so yeah, I mean, block one, we have so much of what we're familiar with, and then they all of a sudden just throw on this layer of like, haha, guess what? Which I'm really excited about. And honestly, there's a lot of new sets and there's a lot of design. I have not slept. I'm very, very busy.
Just in
so
block one?
There's some surprises. Yeah, I feel like I'm 3 blocks like of work in one block. So
wow.
Yeah.
We gotta let you go so you can go work on this. This is incredible.
I was gonna say, excuse me, what time is it?
Well, you're so generous, and we absolutely adore getting to go on this deep dive with you, Sarah. And seriously, you should, hats off to your whole team, but especially to you, because it just was a grand season, and you know, whether intended or not, you know, the arch was the stuff of legends, and the row house had so many beautiful, just simple moments, and you know, the parties, the festivals, you know, I mean, Hearties are going to have so much fun rewatching season 11 and just picking up even more of it. So thank you, Sarah.
Imagine if I took the arch away in season 12.
No, do not do that.
Oh, no, you don't want to do that. No. Yeah. Has there been anything that you've taken away that the Hearties are like, we noticed that is gone?
I mean, the Abigail's cafe sign?
Well, yes, yes, indeed. We have noticed that. And that presumably is because Minnie purchased the cafe. So it is under, you know, but if anybody's going to carry on Abigail's tradition, we want it to be Minnie, because she's so
exactly. Yeah.
You know, even if the sign is not there, you know, Lori and Abigail are very much at the heart of the show. So
yeah, it was a weird thing to take away a lot of the Jack Senior photos in Elizabeth's row house, and that wasn't out of a lack of Elizabeth caring. It was just like it just showed that like she needed to move forward and introduce these new people are coming to her life, and it was her way of just kind of making space emotionally. But like that was a weird thing about like when it was brought up. It's like, okay, that was we're thinning out the amount of Jack photos in here. Yeah.
Was that in season 11?
10.
Oh, it was 10. It
That
was
was
earlier
10.
than that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was 10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and we do have to take away one thing this season that kind of hurts. We have to take away the Abigail's cafe clock. Yeah.
Oh, clock.
We're not allowed clocks in town anymore. They're a post nightmare.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, I gotcha. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
trying to keep that clock like programmed to the right time.
Yeah, no, I can kind of see that. I can kind of see that. Yeah, right.
Yeah, but like
So,
again, that's like a weird thing. Like you've seen that since the beginning.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there's these little
Well,
things. But
was
we'll put
that
something
the-
else there that will hold just as much.
yeah,
We'll
of
figure it out.
course.
I'll
But
figure
that
it
was
out.
the
course
clock
you
that was
will.
always missing after, right? Is that the clock?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you saw the size of our lockup, or at least the state of what we have to load this town back into, you would totally understand why we couldn't find that clock.
Well, then
We found it though.
it's best that it's best that it go then.
That's
It
right.
sounds like it
It's
has
the
been
thorn in my side.
right,
Okay, well, we'll
exactly.
do a
And the thorn
memorial
of
service
production
for it.
sign. Well,
Truly,
thank you
truly.
again. With the lists, I imagine with the spreadsheets you must have on your mind right now. We're very grateful that you spent so much time with us. Thank you.
I'm so happy to. It's therapeutic, honestly.
Good.
It's therapy.
Good. Well, certainly you know that going into this season, you have our full attention as always.
Yes, if I get time to post behind the scenes, I absolutely will.
Please, please. We love it when you do, and we love when you share things. You and Barbara sharing sort of the thought that goes into it is so much fun. So thank you to Hearties for paying such close attention to every detail. We just love that you see it all and that you mention it all and that you chatter about it all. It's just fun. So we have a lot more coming for you in these chats. So come back and be with us on Heart to Hearties. Bye-bye.